In today's video, we're going to be discussing the secret to investing with MSTY and ULTY. These are high yield dividend funds by Yieldmax, and they help me live the FIRE lifestyle, which means financially independent, retire early. ULTY and MSTY help me earn over $800,000 per year in dividends, as you can see below. And again, there's a secret to using these two funds to retiring early, okay? And as you can see, we're outperforming the markets. We're up 22%. Yesterday, we were up 23%, but the markets had a slight dip. So again, we're living financially free out of our brokerage accounts using Yieldmax, Cornerstone, and some margin. If you need help doing the same, email me for my e-guides at aikentodd48@gmail.com. Or you can head to my website, unconventionalwealthideas.com. We're leading the FIRE movement here at this channel, as I always say, and you can see all of our testimonials here. When we're talking about the secrets to getting ahead with MSTY and ULTY, there are three components to this secret, okay? It's how I get ahead. It's how I've lived financially free out of my brokerage account for years, okay? I've been doing it with Cornerstone and margin, but now I'm doing it with Yieldmax as well. We've added that into the fold. You can see our margin here. It's $460,000 right now, our margin debt. But I'm not worried about my margin debt because, as I always say, my dividends will pay it back in less than 1 year. So my dividends are now, again, $845,000. Let's just call it $800,000. We could easily have our dividends up to $1 million, but we're trying to do this all safely and responsibly. We're trying to stay retired. We're not just trying to make a lot of money or wow people with our dividends or our day's gains. We just want to be performing with the indexes with our day's gains. That's why I always show you the percentage, not the dollars gained or lost, but the percentage. And as long as we're in line with the indexes, that's all that we care about, okay? And as long as we have enough income to live on to then pay down our margin debt, that's all we care about, living free. Now, in the last video I made, a lot of members are saying, not a lot of members, a couple members said that they're outperforming me, but they said they're using all YMAX and ULTY, or they're using all covered calls, zero DTE covered calls. There's really no way to outperform what I'm doing, in my opinion. It's not really opinion, it's just a fact in my experience. Unless you have a smaller account size, which is good. If you're using margin, you have a smaller account, you're growing, I'm proud of you. Or you can't go all into something like a YMAX or MSTY or ULTY. And you can't sell calls, okay, zero DTE calls, in my opinion. You have to do all of this safely. And so the first thing that you have to do in order to live free from a 9 to 5 and stay retired or get to early retirement with ULTY and MSTY, the first thing you have to do at my channel, and I don't give financial advice, that is to simply use some margin. That's the first part of this secret, okay? So we're going to talk about 3 steps here in this live session today. And the first thing you need to do with ULTY and MSTY is, of course, use some margin. Now, I already described you have to use margin safely, okay? So if you're having an 80% yield with ULTY, okay, here's the ULTY site at Yieldmax. You can see the yield is 85%. So if you're trying to retire early, obviously this isn't a true 85%. The real returns, if you saw Marcos Milla's video, okay, the collab that he and I just did. Today I'm talking about ULTY and MSTY because a lot of people try to retire early on MSTY alone or ULTY alone, and in some cases YMAX. Go look at Marcos's video, okay? Go check that out and look at the returns. He gave you all the charts for ULTY that you need to see, okay? So we're not up 85% in ULTY, okay? Nor is it up 85% since its inception, but it's up nicely. It's doing very well. So this isn't the real yield. So you have to use some margin to increase this yield and increase your performance, because when you use margin, it acts as a second account, okay? So this margin that you see here, I could sell at any time, by the way. I could click sell and all my margin's gone. I'm not worried about my margin interest because I've negotiated my rates down twice. Many of my members who bought my e-guides did the same thing, because when you get my e-guides, you get my number and Discord access for life, okay? But I'm making an announcement. I'm no longer texting that script for free anymore. I am charging for the script to negotiate rates down because I'm getting inundated with text now. Yes, you have my number when you buy any bundle. Remember that. Any bundle and you get my number and Discord for life, okay? Not when you buy one guide, because then you have too many questions for me and Discord members and it cuts down on the experience. It takes away from your understanding of the market and we have to answer so many redundant questions. So I always say buy the bundle to get my number and Discord access. So let's just say after this week, okay, the script is no longer free. So when you buy my e-guides, you'll get the script up till this Sunday, okay? So I'm sorry if you didn't see this video. Please watch all my videos. Again, I'm not worried about my margin interest because I've negotiated it down twice. If I'm not worried about my margin rates, then what's the risk here? Because here's the next part of that secret, okay? So first we talk about getting this income, this ULTY income, which is over, you know, with all of our dividends, we're over 800,000 per year in dividends. But our real return is more like 22%, 23% as of yesterday, 22%. All right, so how can we not only increase this number and live retired on it early, but how can we do it safely? All right, so that's the next part of this video, part 2. It would be to hedge your ULTY positions in your Yieldmax positions. So the first thing you do is you take margin out. You use a small amount of margin. I talk all about how to use margin in volume 3 of my e-guides. But you want to watch your maintenance, okay? Just remember that when you're using margin, watch your maintenance. With ULTY, the maintenance is 50%. So you're using this margin to get incremental income on top of ULTY's dividend, on top of your W-2 paycheck. You use this extra income with margin, but you don't want to risk anything in margin, right? So you want to hedge margin, but first be aware that when you use margin, it requires maintenance, and ULTY has 50% maintenance, which is pretty high. Now it's much lower than what I've used in the past. Okay, double leveraged funds, real estate funds that crashed hard during Corona, they had 100% maintenance and they never recovered. And what do you know? Real estate's a small part of the indexes. Now we're in the largest parts of the indexes with Yieldmax. They have aptly, the Mag 7 names, the Superb 10 names, the Tremendous 20 as we're calling them now at our Discord chat room, because I use all of those names to get ahead. Okay, not just the Yieldmax names, but the leverage vehicles within them. But that's another topic that we'll discuss at the end of today's video, because that's kind of part 3 to this whole strategy, is getting the capital gains, the compounded gains, which we'll talk about in 1 second. So for now, you just need to understand that maintenance is the key to living financially free out of your brokerage account. Okay, for every $1 you put in your account, if you're just now seeing my channel, you get $4 of purchasing power. Okay, I'm just using a fraction of this over 4 million in purchasing power, okay? Over 4 million, because if you do 1.6 million, that's my account size, times 4, you get over 4 million in purchasing power. Of course, we use a lot of margin, so my purchasing power is only down to, you know, it's only 1.7 million right now. But our available withdrawal is about 400,000, which means we can withstand over 20% corrections at all times and never even get close to a margin call. And even if we got close to a margin call, which we never did during the recent crash, the tariffs crash. Ever since I started my channel here on YouTube, we've had multiple corrections in the market, a few flash crashes, in fact, and we never got close to a margin call. That's because I use maintenance properly and I deleverage properly during those downturns. Okay, we talk all about how I deleverage with my margin in volume 7. Okay, and then we bounce back harder than the market thanks to the techniques we use with the triple C's in volume 7 and the deleveraging techniques that we use in volume 7. But for now, for the purposes of today's video, or at least this part of the video, you need to be aware that when you have high maintenance, it sucks up your available withdrawal and it makes it to where you can't withdraw out of your account. You can't use your E-Trade card like I do to swipe it and go wherever I want, buy cars, clothes, shoes, whatever you want with my margin, just like the rich do. Many of the greats use margin and debt to get ahead. Look at how Elon Musk bought Twitter, X. So I can do anything I want with my margin. It's how I live free from a 9 to 5 and live free with anything that I do in my life, but my available withdrawal has to stay high. And the secret to controlling that is by staying indexed, of course, but also first and foremost, you need to watch your maintenance, of course. That's the most important thing to using my techniques here at this channel, okay? Once again, if you need help understanding maintenance and margin, that's in my volume 3 e-guide. So we use some margin to get our incremental income with ULTY and MSTY. But then we have to protect it, and we're keeping in mind the maintenance of these funds so that we never get close to a call and so that we can always withdraw out and pay our bills even in a down market. So we've established that. Now, here's the next part of that secret, okay? Here's the secret, all right, the big secret. Okay, I've already given you some gems, but here's the big secret for all my members who have tuned in and they've been waiting for this video because I've kind of built up this video. They might know this technique of mine, but if they haven't been listening closely, here it is, okay? And hey, Frosty Dog, I see you, brother. Thank you so much to all my admin, okay? And I'll get to all of my comments in 1 second. All right, the big secret to using MSTY and ULTY and retiring early on Yieldmax funds is you want sideways movement, okay, with margin. Okay, so when you're using margin like I'm using here, you want sideways movement. That's why I got so involved with Cornerstone when I started Cornerstone. Okay, you look at a 5-year chart, it moves largely sideways. But look at ULTY. Okay, let's go look at ULTY's chart. Look at this sideways movement. This is a margin investor's dream. Okay, because many people use margin and they trade, okay, and that's where they go wrong with margin. They get in margin calls because they trade and they don't buy index plays and they don't buy dividend plays that pay down their margin anyway. We're trying to never lose at this channel because when you get dividends, they cash flow all your losses anyway. If you just keep collecting the dividends, a 20% dividend times 5 years, you cash flow 100%. So if we can just keep collecting this dividend with ULTY going sideways, that makes our volatility in our account minimal. Now, we're still getting days gains, and I'll share with you how I'm doing that in the last part of this video. But we want to go sideways when using margin, okay? Even when you're not using margin. Now, I would actually argue if you're not using margin, you don't want to go sideways. You just need growth. But if you're using margin, you just want to go sideways, okay, and not have any downside so that you can always live financially free from 9 to 5. You don't have extra volatility because you're using margin. So you want sideways movement. That's where we're getting with ULTY, okay? MSTY has also changed its structure somewhat. Look, it goes kind of sideways now. It sacrifices the upside for dividends or distributions, okay? Because the volatility of MSTY and the volatility of the holdings within ULTY are so large that we can actually take our income in the form of volatility, all right, options volatility, sell options, receive the income like Yieldmax does, in exchange for the upside. So that to me is a margin investor's dream once again. Okay, I like income, I like sideways, especially with margin and extra margin uses like we use. We're at about 30% because we don't want extra volatility with our margin. So we want sideways movement. Okay, I'll say it for the last time. Sideways movement. And again, that's why I found Cornerstone. Cornerstone is so great because it does move sideways. It's a totally indexed play that has a 20% dividend that no other index fund had at that time. I was trying to find index funds that move largely sideways or 7 to 10% up per year with dividends so that I could live free but not have erosion. I don't want to live free and my dividends go down like with certain real estate funds, like with certain energy funds. We want actual growth in our accounts, okay? Not bad return of capital. We want good return of capital, which good return of capital is when you have tax-free dividends, okay? It's tax-free until you sell Yieldmax and Cornerstone. But if the NAVs underneath, the underlying holdings are not growing, then you have bad return of capital. When you're buying dividend funds that give you a large dividend, but they're just going down, down, down into the ground, the underlying holdings or NAV is not growing, and so that would be a false dividend. But when you have the NAV growing, in Cornerstone's case, it tracks the indexes, so the indexes are always moving. For example, look at Morningstar here with Cornerstone. On Morningstar, it is a 4-star fund. Okay, here's Cornerstone right here, 4-star fund, and it moves upward left to right after you factor back in dividends. Same goes for Yieldmax. ULTY has a lot of volatile holdings within it, and the performance on it is still quite good. I digress. We're not here to break down the specifics of ULTY and MSTY. Okay, and here's MSTY, by the way. Let's just go look at its dividend. MSTY, it has an 80% yield, and you can see that since its inception, it is up 336%. I remember after I got this Bloomberg article done on me, okay, I had a people reach out, people come out of the woodwork saying, we're just losing to erosion. And this was an official research site, and I won't give his name because I don't want to give him publicity. And I can't believe that he didn't just go look at the total returns. Go check out my article on Bloomberg if you want to see that article. And I can't believe that he would actually think that by looking at these returns with MSTY here, 336% after factoring in dividends. The most important thing about Discord, by the way, this Discord chat room started as a way just to get the Cornerstone rights offering announcement. Okay, so when we talked about Cornerstone today, how it goes sideways, yes, it goes sideways. However, Cornerstone then drops, okay, and has significant price drops like right here during its rights offering period. So if you can play Cornerstone properly and time it between the highs and lows, which I talk all about in volume 4, then you can really level up. I want to live retired early on ULTY and MSTY, correct? But we need more income because the true returns are something more like 20% for ULTY. It's not an 85% return. So I use margin. But we already talked about using margin safely. We don't use much of it. We stay indexed mostly. And you have to watch your maintenance with margin. And so we already talked about that at the beginning of the video. And the secret to living, free off of maintenance and equity. Okay, see the beginning of the video. But then we talked about the second part of the strategy, okay? It is to have sideways movement. That's the secret to getting ahead with ULTY and MSTY. You want sideways movement, and we identify that ULTY and MSTY are pretty much sideways movers. Now, here's the next part. You want to hedge that. I already alluded to this at the beginning, towards the beginning of the video. You want to now hedge this sideways movement because, yes, they move sideways, but then the bottom drops out from something like an ULTY. Look at how we dropped here during the recent correction. With Cornerstone, look at how we dropped here, all right, during the recent rights offering, okay? And Cornerstone, by the way, it's 30% means. That's why I put so much more in Cornerstone. It gives you the growth, and it gives you the drip at NAV. Let me just say this really fast and get out of the way. The Cornerstone drip at NAV, let's do a refresh. We have a 21% dividend with Cornerstone every year, and then every month we get 19.5% gains on top of our 20% dividends every month in Cornerstone. That's why it's the greatest vehicle in the world. It gives you the dividend. It gives you the drip at NAV every month. So most of my members who are in Cornerstone at Discord know this. I mean, not every broker has Cornerstone, and so not every member here is getting that special drip. But what they'll do is they'll usually combine multiple brokers to get low maintenance at other brokers like a Robinhood, and then they'll combine it with like an E-Trade, Fidelity, or Schwab to use Cornerstone to get the NAV drip so that you're getting the 20% dividend with those 19% gains on top of that dividend every month. I'm not misspeaking. Some months we have 37% gains. I always say 37 because it stayed stuck on 37 for a while last year, the premiums. We've had 40% plus premiums in Cornerstone with the 20% dividend with days gains, and Cornerstone's actually been holding up quite well again over the last few days. Today, it's down a little bit when the market's up because it was holding up well the last few days. Once again, look at this chart, sideways. That's what you want with margin usage, sideways movement. But Cornerstone actually gives you the ability to capitalize on up markets too. Look at this uptrend we have now forming again in Cornerstone. Look at this one we had before. And then we sold out right here. This date of the drop coincides with the exact time that we had the Cornerstone rights offering announcement on Discord, okay? It's the same time, so we were able to get out right then thanks to this Cornerstone rights offering announcement at Discord. But a lot of my members, some of my members, I should say, missed out on that announcement because they don't like using Discord. They're old-fashioned. That's when I started my membership service, okay? A lot of people ask, when you buy a bundle, do you get the membership service too? No, this is a separate service. This service is for members only. And it's for those who want the SMS alert. They want the Cornerstone rights offering announcement texted to them instead of going through Discord. Okay, so you can find my portfolio here in the YouTube memberships. You can find the SMS service for RO announcements and emergency updates. That's the $20 a month. And then the $50 a month option is all of my trades, obviously, that we make between members-only videos. So you can follow my portfolio anytime here. And again, this whole service here, this membership service, is just a separate service after you buy my bundles. Just want to make that clear. I've been getting a lot of confusion about that in my emails lately. Okay, so I gave you the first step and I gave you the second step. Then you need to hedge these. Okay, the first step, you need to use some margin, but watch your maintenance. That's volume 3. Then you need to make sure that you're getting sideways movement with margin. And then we just talked about how Cornerstone's a perfect sideways mover, but play it properly around the rights offerings. Okay, that's in volume 4. And then we talked about how ULTY and MSTY are largely sideways movers too. So we put this extra margin on, we're getting this extra income. I hope you're following me. But we want to be safe because they move sideways and then drop out. You play Cornerstone properly, you can deal with that. We can also box Cornerstone at the highs. We talk about that in volume 5 as well in my hedging e-guide. All right, but now we're going to talk about how to hedge ULTY and MSTY, okay, which is also all in my volume 5 e-guide. So you want to hedge ULTY with options, okay? That's the first thing you want to do. You want to raise your margin if you're trying to do it like me. I don't give financial advice. You want to watch your maintenance so that you're able to still withdraw, okay? You want to have sideways movement, but then you want to protect for when the bottom drops out. So you would hedge an ULTY with options, okay, like we talk about in volume 5, okay, you can see all about how I use my options there. It's also a little bit in volume 3. We had our options score big for us during the recent crash. We're up thousands of % in our options, so they're very effective. You want to use options with ULTY, you can use YQQQ with ULTY, but YQQQ isn't going to protect you from a major drop in ULTY like options would. If you saw the Marcos video that, the video that Marcos and I did, you saw how ULTY had the biggest drawdown of all the other index funds there. So to protect against that, options are the best way, in my opinion, okay? Then you can use YQQ, and if they release SALTY for ULTY, SLTY, well, that would just be a godsend, because then our margin risk would truly be neutralized, okay? This margin risk, this margin debt, first of all, it goes away anyway because of the dividends, okay? So the risk just magically disappears over time, weekly and monthly as our dividends come in. But then, after the pay down happens with our dividends, we can also hedge our margin with options, of course, and YQQ, and then SALTY would almost neutralize ULTY. With MSTY, we have winter, okay? So that's the next hedge you use with MSTY. Again, you use winter. So you buy your MSTY, you buy your winter, and then where is the risk with your margin? Now, the correlation won't be 1-for-1 on these hedges, but they were pretty darn good, if not better than expected during the recent crash. So if SALTY comes out, I'll be very happy with whatever they do with SALTY to neutralize ULTY. And then with, again, MSTY, we have winter. Now, if you hedge them out, though, where do you get your growth from MSTY? Because we know we're not getting growth from ULTY. We know we're not getting growth really from MSTY either. Look at what Bitcoin's doing and look at what MSTY's chart is doing. So if we're not getting the growth, why not neutralize them with those short vehicles? As I just mentioned, well, you need capital gains too, okay? So I sell options on MSTY, not necessarily MSTY, but on Bitcoin, and selling options is the safest way to get extra performance on top of using margin, because if I'm using margin, I want the safest returns possible around the margin. So when I sell options here, I'm not selling zero DTE or risky options. I'm selling these kinds of options, which are very conservative, okay? Look at the cost basis, okay? $70 strike for BitX. We received $50.49, so that's $5,000 just for clicking the mouse times 5 contracts. So we got $25,000 to, just from clicking our mouse with BitX. We received $25,000 immediately. So that's like, that's a lot in Bitcoin gains. I don't know what the math is, but if you're trying to make $25,000 off of $25,000 invested in Bitcoin, that would be 100%. We're here selling these options, getting the $25,000 up front, but we're doing it safer because our cost base is 70 minus 50 is 20, okay? And the real price of BitX is somewhere around 70. So we'd have to drop huge just to get assigned, and we probably won't get assigned because that's extremely rare. And if we did, we would make much more money on the way up, because that's how you really make money with selling options. You either take the premiums up front, and we've lowered our margin in the process by about $50,000. So that lowers my interest, that lowers my volatility here, because these are long-term options. So these actually move less on down days, but they give me nice participation on up days. Sometimes the prices just fluctuate. Like here, BitX is down 637. Here, BitX is up 125. So you don't really pay attention to days gains. At the end of the day, they usually balance out, or the next day they balance out. What you're looking for is not even these gains on the right, 57% gain, 27% gain, negative 15 here, plus 35 here for UPRO. You're not looking at the gains here, okay? Let me move my camera down. You're looking at the value that you received, which then lowered your margin by that equivalent amount. So $50,000 we lowered our margin by selling these options, and they lowered our volatility and they lowered our cost basis, okay? 70 to minus 50 is 20. So look, we're up significantly in these BitX puts, and that's how we're getting our performance with MSTY, in winter, because they neutralize. So where do I get my growth safely in Bitcoin? It's with these sold options. And if you need help selling options, that's in my volume 6 e-guide. So that's the secret to getting ahead with MSTY. Obviously, we use other option vehicles as well. You can see all of my Bitcoin holdings in our members only videos, okay? Again, these have my portfolio in it. So you can see how I use Bitcoin. We have other leverage vehicles for MSTY, ways to get upside exposure. We'll save that for another video, or you can just check them all out in my portfolio once again. So that's the second part of this secret, okay? It's, I already told you, first use the margin, do it right though. Then it's get sideways movement, okay? And these definitely move sideways. And then it's hedge out the sideways in case there's a downside drop, okay? And then we already started alluding to the next piece of this puzzle, step 3 of this secret, okay, to living financially free out of our brokerage account. It's a complex secret. The next step would be to get the compounding gains and move higher and get best of both worlds. You want dividends. Yes, we earn over 800,000 in dividends, but we also want the capital gains, because the capital gains are the way to make the old-fashioned money and the reliable money. It's how you really get rich, is off capital gains, compounded. So compounded returns are the eighth wonder of the world. It's how you really grow your wealth. And I'm compounding my returns through Cornerstone and the triple C's, which is all in my volume 7. So we're using that. That's how we're up 8,000 today. Okay, it's Cornerstone's down, as you saw, is fractionally down, but then we have all those other leverage vehicles that are up for us today. Also, ULTY's up 0.65, so that's going to, help me out some. But we're up about $10,000 thanks to the other capital gains vehicles that we use in my portfolio, which you can all check out in the members only videos. So the way that you get those capital gains, we already alluded to it, it's with the sold options, because those give you conservative capital gains. All right, and then we have obviously the triple C's, which I just mentioned. We have Cornerstone itself, which we already talked about playing Cornerstone. That's how I really level up my account. We've had 50% gains in Cornerstone in multiple years. Okay, the first year I was in Cornerstone, we had 100% gain because the stock price moved up huge, and we had a 20% dividend and the drips at NAB, which I wasn't even taking advantage of at the time. All right, and then you need the dual mag names. Okay, dual mag. I talk about the triple C's. And then we talk about the double Mag 7 names, which are all of my members only videos. They've been on a tear lately. I've been alerting all of my members in the SMS trades of how I'm dealing with these leverage vehicles, these double leverage. I call them, dual mags or double mags. Okay, double mags, Super 10. These are the largest parts of the indexes. So if we're going to go index, which is basically the whole secret to investing in general, you just say index. Well, I like to take the largest holdings within them that Yieldmax covers. Okay, they cover all the Mag 7 names with an Apple, with a Tesla, but then I buy an AppU, a TSLL. Okay, but I manage those position sizes very carefully. I'm always trimming around them, managing that risk, taking gains. And again, you can see those all in my members only videos. All right, so I just told you how to get the compounded gains, the capital gains with those 5 strategies. I was brief on them. I just touched on them, but watch this video again if you missed those. And again, email me for my e-guides at aikentodd48@gmail.com if you need help doing anything that I'm doing here in my account. I've done this all myself. I learned this all myself. I didn't use any YouTube channels or anything like that to teach me how to do this. In fact, no one was talking about this stuff. So that's why I started my YouTube channel a couple of years ago. And look at how it's grown. Okay, now we've been invited to the closing bell ceremony for Yieldmax. We've been on Bloomberg. We're here now, with this Discord chat room, helping others live financially free from 9 to 5. So email me at aikentodd48@gmail.com or visit my website, Unconventional Wealth Ideas, and you can learn more about my e-guides and how I get this outperformance to live free from 9 to 5 with ULTY and MSTY and other Yieldmax funds, as well as other high-yielding dividend funds like Cornerstone, Defiance, Rec Shares, you name it. All right, so let me go ahead and get into the chat. So once again, hey, Frosty, always appreciate you, brother. All my admin, Frosty, Jetta, Ray, Hashor, Gaines. I cannot thank y'all enough, okay? Y'all have made the community experience seamless for many users, and without y'all, this I wouldn't know what to do with myself at Discord. Thank you for making that such a pleasant experience. Hey, David, new today. Can you please tell me where to find the FIRE portfolio example? Okay, David, you find the FIRE portfolio here on YouTube under lives. Okay, you go to the lives and then you can see my recent video as well as our recent members only video, which is right before this video. Okay. All right. Good question, David. Thank you. Columbia, agreed. Beating your account today doesn't mean anything. Do a 5-year side by side and then we can talk. Thank you, Columbia. Exactly. We have to do this safely. We have to do it right, and we can't go all in one thing. So thank you for saying that, Columbia. Hey, Phil AM. Hey, Kreger. Hey, Snonk. Hey, Jacob. Make the script its own separate e-guide. Should save you time. Just refer people to the e-guide. It's worth every penny, my man. That's a great point, Jacob. I definitely will, because it saved a lot of people a lot of money when they knock down their interest. It's actually worth more than the other guides in themselves, and I've been doing them for free the entire time. I think that's a great example, great idea, Jacob. And And I'll do that. You know, I'm a one-man operation. I have my admin at Discord, those 5 guys who are so great. I wouldn't be able to do anything without them. But outside of Discord, I'm a one-man operation. I do not have a company. I think people are under the impression that I have like, you know, that when they email me, I have an automated service or I have secretaries or something. No, it is all me when you talk to me in my emails, you know, or text. Okay. So I will try to get that set up when I can. Great idea, Jacob. Okay. And thanks again, Columbia. Intentes, your phone is probably blown up 24/7. Exactly, Intentes. It really is. I never get out of my phone. Now, I love it, but I never get out of it. Chris, I shouted you out earlier. Thanks again, Chris, for this lovely book, okay? Thanks for messaging me here. And I can't believe it. You know, I love seeing all 7 guides in one place like that, and I'll try to make it available for more members as well. Thanks again, Chris. Really appreciate you, brother. Means so much to me. Joe, sideways movement and dividends to pay down that margin. Exactly, Joe. You got it. Sideways, which is what Cornerstone, ULTY, and MSTY are pretty good for. Anmol, is this a good time to buy ULTY and MSTY in this crazy market movement? You never know, Anmol. I don't give advice. You know, we just manage our position sizes. We stay disciplined in our members-only videos and watch my SMS text when I do add to those. I usually have a good reason for it. Wayne, Alex, only reinvest Cornerstone. Right, I only drip Cornerstone dividends because everything else is not worth dripping. That's not the secret to getting ahead with me and ULTY and MSTY. It's dripping Cornerstone for that wonderful dividend that they have, and then the premium boost that you get every month. Okay, all of my members can attest to it. You've seen my old videos where I showed you those gains from Cornerstone every month. Fredo, Alex, don't drip ULTY. Just buy more on down days. Yeah, buy on down days. That's what we do here, Fredo. Amen to that. Joe, right. If you are looking for gains, invest in something that gives you gain like QQQ, VU, SPY. I think we have some comments that they're responding to early in this. We need to get to the rest of this chat to see what everyone's responding to. Andrew, made the live. Hey, glad you can make it, Andrew. Columbia, Alex, the divs don't have to be reinvested. The NAV has been sideways after the div. That's what Todd is talking about here. Thank you, Columbia. Man, Columbia, really nice to have you in here. Those are some really refreshing comments you're making today. Thank you. Alex, thank you. It all makes sense now, of course. Okay, Columbia guy. The text trades are the best value. Todd does the heavy lifting of identifying sectors on sale and shares it with you for almost nothing. It's a steal. Thanks, Columbia. Thank you. Okay, Fredo, because I work so hard on those SMS texts. Ask Christina, ask my family. I'm just buried in my phone, making sure that SMS text is perfect for my members in my members' trades. Okay, and I have a lot of pressure riding on me because I don't want y'all getting hurt, so I make sure that this makes total sense before I do it. This is a total strategy here. We're not just, you know, getting views with our YouTube videos. We're not just buying stuff, you know, to sell gimmicky services. I'm trying to live out of my portfolio, and I want y'all all to follow me and be as successful as me. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've been getting the same results for about 5 to 10 years. And now with Yieldmax, we're just kind of taking this to the next level with our margins. So I'm so glad you're all here to witness it, and we're all doing this together. Columbia, Discord is great, but Todd's live trades are a separate subscription. Exactly. Thanks, Columbia. Fredo, okay, thanks. I thought he once said that the texts were just for us old schoolers. The texts are for my members, but I don't alert of my trades in those texts. That's just if you have questions, then I answer your text. If you want my trade alerts, I have to do that with an SMS service. Okay, so I can group it all in one place. And anyway, Adam, what's the play if you buy into ULTY and you time it wrong and it's taken a big pullback? Would you DCA or look into other plays and just collect the divs? Great question, Adam. I would say that you just have to watch your position size, and that way you're always right when you buy the dips. If you put too much into it, obviously you're going to get hurt. But if you watch your position size from the beginning, which you know we're at about 10% in ULTY, then it's really hard to lose even when you do buy in and it goes down. You just keep DCAing. Yes, I keep DCAing, but with the right position size, Adam, not with an all-in position size. Southern, thank you so much, Southern. I appreciate that. Glad you liked it. Tiger, love your strategy. I'm a cash user, so still fully cashing in ULTY and YMAX combos to create a powerful cash flow machine. Loans and can't margin call me and I'll keep growing. Yep. If you want to use cash as well, that's your prerogative, Tiger. I just always found that the margin was an easy way to grow. If you just used $1 of margin, where's it going to hurt you, right? It's not going to hurt you just $1, but you're going to get extra performance. So then it's just finding that balance of using more margin without the risk. And that's what we specialize in. I know you've been witnessing that for what, over a year now, Tiger? Thanks for being there with me so long. What are some of my favorite books? Obviously, Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. Try that, Alex. That was one that really changed my life, by Jesse Livermore. Once again, if you need help living financially free out of your brokerage accounts, email me for my e-guides at akintodd48@gmail.com. You can also visit my website, unconventionalwealthideas.com, and you can learn more about my e-guides there. We're outperforming all of the indexes. We're earning $800,000 in dividends, and we're up 22% for the year. So you can do this too. Anyone can do this. You just have to use margin, ULTY, and MSTY properly when you're trying to retire early on them. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video, and I'll talk to you soon, everyone.